Welcome you into our CBS Sports HQ studios. Haley Sutton alongside Damien Harris, Kanell and Cardale Jones. All right, gentlemen, we were watching this game kind of unfold as we were finishing up our halftime show there, or our pregame show, I should say, and it was just crazy down to the wire. Damien, I hand this off to you. Unreal performance from Kentucky today.
Absolutely. Shout out to Mark Stoops, and this is just a testament to what he's done to this program. It's not always going to be pretty. They're not going to put up a ton of points. They're not going to wow you, but they're going to make teams that are good beat them. They're going to make it dirty. They're going to make it grimy. They're going to fight, scratch, and claw offensively, defensively, special teams to keep themselves in games and to put themselves to win games like this. You know, I think back to the home game that Kentucky won against LSU all those years ago when LSU was potentially ranked #1. And Mark Stoops has, granted, he wasn't there coaching at the time, but this is what he brings to that program. So huge win for Kentucky, huge win for Mark Stoops. Shout out to those guys in the blue.
I totally agree with everything you said. Congrats to Mark Stoops, but this is a devastating loss for Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss.
Oh,
like, there's both sides of the story.
Sure.
I think this is what happens when you schedule a bunch of nobodies and you run through them and we all fall for it. We're like, well, they scored 76 points against Furman, and they go out there and blow out teams, Middle Tennessee, Georgia Southern, Wake Forest, one of the worst teams in the ACC, and everybody's like, look how great they look. You don't truly know the makeup of your team until you get tested, until you get punched in the mouth. And today, Ole Miss got punched in the mouth, and they did not respond. They looked shook for most of the second half, thinking, wait a second, this team is still trying against us? We're Ole Miss. We blow out everybody. And they did not respond to the test. So this is, yes, it's about Kentucky, but it's also about Ole Miss coming up short in a year where their fan base thought they were on a straight line for the playoffs and potentially a national championship. This is a devastating loss for Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss.
Well, Ole Miss still have everything they want right in front of them with the new format of the college football playoff. I know I say this a million times, especially being in the SEC. But going into the halftime show, I said it, this can be the upset of the year if Kentucky finds a way to pull this off. Just the simple fact of going into Ole Miss, all these high expectations, unranked Kentucky, coming off a nail-biter, really a nail-biter versus Georgia, and going in here and getting this win. Kentucky finds a way to be in games they really shouldn't be in, and then the following week, they're, you know, you get blown out by Mizzou or something like that.
South Carolina, they lost 31-6 to South Carolina.
Exactly. So, I mean, this will happen when you let teams like that stick around for too long. Ole Miss was, I mean, Kentucky was allowed to really open up this game and sustain that energy, and really got it all the way down to the wire and ultimately getting a W. So.
Let me ask you this. What went wrong for Ole Miss in this one? Because we kind of talked about how they dropped the ball on this. What went wrong?
They just didn't respond well to being punched in the face. They didn't respond well. You see a 63-yard completion on 4th and long. Plays like that, you just don't respond well enough to regain the momentum. And going into a hostile environment, well, being a home team, and then you got a team like Kentucky coming in there and they making these big plays, you feel that energy start to seep away because your fan base is like, oh my God, another one, like, what are you guys are doing? Kentucky, like, we ain't got nothing to lose. Let's go in here and shock the world, and they did.
That's kind of been the theme today.
You want to know how you lose? When you let Kentucky hold the ball for 39 minutes of the game. You only have them for 20 minutes. You're 1 of 10 on 3rd down, and you don't respond. I mean, that's the thing. You got to be ready for a fist fight every time you take the field, and it looked like Ole Miss was not ready for that challenge today, and Kentucky was.
You know what we call guys like those? Front runners.
Yeah.
The guys that have to play ahead, have to have a comfortable lead, have to have confidence, have to feel like everything is going their way. When a front runner is hit in the mouth like Kentucky did to Ole Miss today, this is usually what happens. They don't respond well, they're not able to execute, and they're just sitting here trying to figure out ways. How can we stop this onslaught? How do we stop the snow from falling? And you can't, because you're so accustomed and you have built yourselves. Jackson Dart, Lane Kiffin, I'm calling you guys out. You guys have built this offense, built this team around jumping out on an early lead and just airing the ball out and knowing you're going to win 50, 60 points. That's what this team is built on. This is how we view Ole Miss. They're not a team that can win an ugly game. They're not a team that's built for a dogfight. They're built to play from ahead and just coast the rest of the game. And this is a message to teams in college football that like to play that way. That's the importance of college football. Like you said, anybody can get beat on any given Saturday, right? That's what this game is about. So Kentucky came out with a purpose, with authority. They play with passion, they play with enthusiasm, and the front-running team, who wasn't just coasting the whole game, they couldn't respond.
Yeah, I'm looking here at the game statistics. Ole Miss was 1 in 10 on 3rd down. They were 2 and 2 on 4th down, so that's important. But just all down the board, it looks like Kentucky sort of, to your point, like they came in and they played with the lead. They played well. They played strong. I want to push this forward here, right, for both of these sides. Let's start with Ole Miss, since that's the conversation that we're on here. What's next? What's the conversations they're having in this locker room and the approach to practice next week? Because as we take a look at the schedule here, they're at South Carolina. We just saw that South Carolina LSU
Kentucky
game. Yeah, that's a great point, too. So, Danny, I'll come to you here. What's next for Ole Miss as they pivot into next week?
All you got to do is respond. You know, like, you got to really galvanize, come together. A lot of people will be criticizing, like us here today, saying, hey, you guys need to play tougher. And they, you know, sometimes a loss can be a blessing. And you never want to lose, but sometimes it can actually wake up a team that's not had much adversity, and it brings them tighter together, and it helps them respond. Other times it can send you into a spiral. Like all of a sudden you see bickering in the locker room. Hey, why didn't I get the ball thrown my way? Why did my offensive line not protect? Or the defense, why didn't they get a stop? It can work both ways. So I would expect Lane Kiffin to try to rally this team and try to get them back. But this is a really rough loss from the playoff picture, too. I know you said everything's in front of you. Yes, if they win out. If they win out, then yes, everything's in front of them. But, man, if you want to be comparing resumes and you're 10-2 and they have one more loss and they still have to play Georgia, they still have to play LSU on the road, there's some tough games on there. You start comparing schedules with other teams 10-2, that loss at home as a 2-touchdown favorite to Kentucky is one that does not look great on the resume.
Absolutely. The best thing that Ole Miss can do is take that front-running mentality, look at this game and how you just got punched in the mouth, you didn't respond, and then learn how to fight. Don't just learn how to lead from ahead when you throw your first punch, your best punch first, and you knock the guy down and you've got him reeling the rest of the fight. That's not how you win games. That's not how you're going to win a championship. You can get to the playoffs, but that's not how you're going to win a championship. Keep that same mentality of, yes, we want to jump out ahead. We want to get ahead. We want to get an early lead and just put up points and coast. But also use this as an opportunity. Use this as something when you're playing Georgia and it's a tough game. Lane Kiffin, grab your players and be like, what happened in the Kentucky game? We got punched in the mouth and we didn't respond. Now we have an opportunity on a much bigger stage later on in the season when we're talking more about the playoffs and recency bias and what are teams doing right now. Use this loss as an opportunity to be like, hey, yes, we are a team that can score a lot of points and we can win when we play from ahead, but when we lost and we got punched in the mouth and we didn't fight back, we're not going to do that again. We can't afford to do that again if we want to get to where we want to go.
Yeah, we were talking about the college football playoff chances earlier in our pregame show. Before this game, Ole Miss had over a 70% shot of getting in. We saw them in that bracket. With this loss, it now drops to 36%, according to our Mackenzie Brooks from Sportsline. So obviously, to your point, Danny, they're going to have to win out in order to stay in that conversation. Before we wrap this up, I do want to talk about Kentucky. We've given them their flowers. It was a big task to come in there and get the win today. Looking ahead at their schedule, they got Vanderbilt on the 12th and Florida, Auburn. So kind of some cushier games before they then have to take on Tennessee. Cardale, if you're Kentucky and you're Coach Stoops, what's the mentality like after a big win like this? The 24-hour rule, I'm sure, will be in effect, but this is big.
Don't forget this feeling. Right, don't forget this feeling. Let's not take one step forward and two steps back. That was a huge jump this week for Kentucky to continue to play their style of football. They control the line of scrimmage, control the time of possession, and when you're playing against these high-flying, powered offenses that you're going to see in the SEC and in Tennessee, and just like what you did to Ole Miss and Alabama and things like that, you got to find a way to limit possessions. So continue to use that formula, and then you're going to put yourself in games at the end where it's going to be one possession, and hopefully you'll come out with it just like you did tonight.
This win for Coach Mark Stoops was his highest ranked win in his entire career. So it is Kentucky taking down number 6 Ole Miss 20-17. They got it done and they got the upset. It was quite the matchup as we saw, and certainly things in the college football playoff world will look a little bit differently after week 5. To stay up to date with all the latest in the college football world, you can catch Danny Kanell and his Cover 3 podcast, fellas, talking all things ball. Danny, I'm sure you guys will have a lot to talk about this week on the next episode.
Better believe it. Tonight's recap show. Check it out.